Just Open Day. Thank you for joining us. I have Dror with me, so I'm really keen for the session. You always give a fantastic and interesting session. So this session is going to be on the Proxy Handler plugin. So I'm really quite interested to hear a little bit about this. It's always these more technical things that I've got to wrap my mind around that, QGIS does. But I think these are all really, really useful for all the users of QGIS to understand, using the different prefixes for stuff, for specific URLs, and also, our addresses that are built in a specific way in order to allow us to, use these proxies, etc. So I'm going to hand over to you, and go for it.
I'm gonna go for it. See if I'm sharing the right screen. And okay. So the Proxy Handler plugin. Like Amy said, this is like something that can daunt a lot of people, handling with proxies and things like that. And it's also pretty gray and boring. I'm not gonna lie, so it's pretty gray and boring. But you'd be amazed at the amount of data you can find just hidden behind the proxy, either because whatever authority you want data from only has like one outside going server, and everything else is just inside their local area network, or because they're trying to safeguard their data. Oh, I didn't change the thing below from my last QGIS Open Day. The footer from the last QGIS Open Day talk. So anyway, using these proxies is actually something you can do, but it can be a bit complicated, and you'd want to write code, and you don't want to do that. That's why we use QGIS, because QGIS handles everything annoying for us. So,
Yay.
Who am I? Yeah, it's also the same slide from last time. So I'm Dror, and it does sound exactly like that. I'm married to Diana. I'm Ronnie's dad. I'm a GIS developer at Tiberius Consulting, which is a Ross.
Hang on. 1 second for us. I see Dror has popped out. There we go.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm a GIS developer at the Consulting, which is a Rosselheimer municipality department. And I'm the guy at the office that won't shut up about QGIS, as you can see, because Amy already knows me from multiple other open days. So let's get to it. And for people who use QGIS, what?
Can you share your screen? Sorry, you popped out of the meeting, so I can't see it anymore.
Oh, right. That makes sense. And for people who do use QGIS, I'm the guy who won't shut up about the expression engines. So, I'm guessing this has happened to all of you. You see a new map, a new app, a new something from a government office or municipality, say, ooh, cool new whatever layer you can see only in our app. Why won't this data be open? I mean, it's municipal data, it's government data, it should be open. And you go into the trouble of doing the clicking on the F12 key and seeing where they get the data for the map for, and you see something like this. And it's just a simple proxy which just goes into one of their internal servers and gets the data. And you think, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can use that in QGIS. But you can't. So you put this in and you try, and it doesn't work. You get a connection failed, or you get a successful connection but don't see anything. maybe the metadata request failed, but it didn't. It's not read, or it is read, or you get a status success. And here's a little fun fact: ArcGIS servers rarely return errors. So this is actually true for even if your provider is using GeoServer or Map Server or QGIS server, whatever they're using to block the access. But let's face it, most of them use ArcGIS server, and the ArcGIS servers wrap their errors in success messages, which is really, really fun to develop against. Also, it's not just annoying for users, it's also annoying for everyone else. So let's just try and open the URL that QGIS tried to build for us. And in the best case scenario, you see that the server errors message is a bad request, which for people who aren't that much into network requests, it usually starts with 400 and something. And in the worst case, you just get a blank white screen and you go into the network tab and you see that the request was successful because, again, see, fun fact. So what really happened? QGIS, when it creates those requests, either for metadata or the actual layers, either raster layers or vector layers, whatever, it takes the base address that you gave it, the server address, the OWS server service that you gave it, and it knows how to construct its own data source and then query the layers. And what it does, it takes the basic, the base URL, for example, whatever this was, the feature server or the WMS server, and it just adds URL parameters. And usually it works great. Whenever the address is fine and just works, then you don't have to think about anything else. That works great if you load up a WMS and think about the amount of things QGIS does when you load up a WMS or an ArcGIS map server. Whenever you move the map, it calculates the new bounding box and creates that as a parameter and asks exactly what format of image you want to get back. And you can actually query most of these. So think about how do you actually query image layers. You can. Most servers allow that. But when the URL you entered, for example, is a proxy and it already has a question mark in it, for example, let's say I'm contacting an ArcGIS server and I add my token inside, then QGIS will assume that you need that parameter as is, and then it adds its own parameters. So we go from this really clean little thing where it just creates its own parameters to adding what's that, ampersand? Forgot
It's
how
an
its name
ampersand,
is.
yeah.
So and that will fail most requests. It's really simple. It's really stupid. It's really annoying. But most servers won't accept that. GeoServer sometimes might, but will mostly fail the request. Get that request and assume it's a bad request and won't actually return the data. So the problem is, as I said, the ampersand here, and how we want to solve that is using basically using the proxy, using the URL without the proxy. So we want to help QGIS understand how to create these proper requests, because we don't want to calculate our own bounding box and whatever else whenever we do things, but we want QGIS to do that, but we also don't want our requests to fail. Again, it's a lazy solution. I mean, we can do that with code, but we really, really, really don't want to. We want QGIS to handle everything, all the requests. So QGIS can use proxies, but there are types of proxies. QGIS is mostly aimed at using a forward proxy. It's going out, not coming into a local area network. So you can define one big proxy for QGIS to access the web, but you can't do it for every single address. So if you want to add just one data source that requires a proxy, you'd have to add to the exception list down here all the other addresses on the web. That's not really an option. And it doesn't really work with wildcard either. So Proxy Handler plugin is supposed to solve exactly that. It's a very, very rushed plugin, and you'll see that when I explain how to use it. But the idea is, wait, okay, so that was supposed to be hidden. You can get the plugin at the QGIS plugins repository. It will only work with versions 3.22 and above. That's an important issue. No one here should be using something before QGIS 3.22 because our current LTR is QGIS 3.28. And I think that's only for the next 6-8 months, something like that. Yeah. So use the LTR. It's an experimental plugin because, again, it's rushed and it's on version 0.01. It was built at like a single evening, or I think. So, and most of the time was based on actually doing the UI. So not really on the actual handling, which is you'll see that it's surprisingly easy. So you need to use the show experimental plugins and just look up proxy, and apparently that's the only one that's there. And after you install it, you can find it either in the web tab or the plugins toolbar. And as you can see, I didn't spend a lot of time on the actual icon design either, so you'd have to excuse me. I'm pretty bad at designing things. And once you open it, you could add whatever handlers you want to use the tab. So again, let's assume we have the proxy address and assume we have the internal address we want to use for access. Again, people most of the time go into the app, F12, move the map, see where the data is coming from. I mean, it's a simple and efficient tool in our tool bag in our tool belt. Just clicking on F12 and checking the network tab. So you go to Add Handler, enter the URL, enter proxy, click on the Add Handler. Don't forget that. Don't add a question mark at the end of the proxy URL because that's pretty much the only thing that the plugin does. It's pretty much just waits for a request for that URL and just adds the question mark. I mean, it's really a lazy plugin. And then click OK. Now, the click OK part, unfortunately, is currently required even if you already had it added previously. your handlers because I didn't even get the chance to make the handlers load up automatically. You don't need to add them every time you open QGIS, but you do need to open the plugin, click on OK, and that's it. I'll fix that in the next version. And I know it's stupid. I know it's. I didn't think about it until after it was accepted into the repo. So you add just the URL that you entered as a connection, either WMS or ArcGIS REST or whatever. If you need any referrers, which you might, check that out. You can do that inside every resource, every data source that you add in QGIS. So I was going to add this and make the plugin more. You don't really need to. You can just do that in base QGIS version without any plugins. So let's take a look. So I'm going to show you this with two servers that I have running on my computer. One is simply a new installation of GeoServer, which I've added natural Earth countries to, and it's pretty simple requests. It's pretty much give me WMS, mean give me an image, the version, get map, so an image, what layers do I want, the bounding box, which is pretty much everything, and the width and height, which I just copied it from whatever I had, SRS, and the image format. Again, a lot of data that I want QGIS to find for me. I don't want to do this myself. So if I'll try and click on it, I won't, because I already did that earlier and took a screenshot. But if I'll click on this, I'll get a 404, a 404. I'll get that because while my GeoServer is running, I added data security, which means you have to be a logged in user. You can't be an anonymous user to access my data. Now, what I did was add a proxy. Again, a very simple Python proxy. I'll add the link to the slideshow later, and the link to the GitHub is there. But it's just a simple Python Flask proxy. The only thing it does, it takes in requests, pass them on, and uses and GeoServer username and password, which it gets from system variables. So basically, just adds the login data. So once I add that, I can get my non-styled image, because basic images are gray. Basic polygons are gray and black in GeoServer. So the proxy works. I can see the data. Let's do it in QGIS. We're going to switch. Amy, you can see my QGIS?
Yep, I can see perfect.
Yeah. So what I did, I already added the same connection earlier. It's localhost 8080 GeoServer, a basic GeoServer connection. The version isn't really important. And that's it. No proxy, nothing. This is what you're supposed to enter into the URL path. So I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to try and get my data back. And I got a successful request, but it's empty because it's a 404 message. It's not the metadata that QGIS was expecting. So again, I happened to have added the URL and proxy earlier, so it's the same URL, the basic URL for GeoServer services, just localhost GeoServer OWS, and that's it. Nothing after that. So that means I want everything that is that starts with this address to use the proxy. My proxy URL is, again, simply localhost and the proxy port, and I click on OK. I added that. I added the handler. I enabled the handler, and now I can just refresh, and you can see it takes a bit longer. And I get back the data. I can load up the data, and that's it. It's simple. It's okay. I think my queue just yeah, it stopped responding, but yeah, there it is. There's our data. That's it. That's the whole point. Again, ugh. I can zoom in. I can use this. Okay, I mostly tried it with ArcGIS server. I'll have to see why it's doing that. It might be my proxy, not what QGIS is doing.
Mm.
But yeah, that's it. So I think that's it. That's the entire talk I had.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
I like how clean and simple it is. I mean, this is very, very useful. Just from my side, we have a lot of governmental platforms where the data is our government very much has bought into ARC and Esri product. So all of their data is viewed through that. There's a lot of ARC REST going on. And the problem is it's quite annoying because they're these two systems. There's one where you can just go and download like an old school shapefile and they update them every now and then. Or you've got to try and get like the whole ARC REST thing happening with QGIS. So I think this is going to really solve my problem for getting protected areas.
Yeah, I actually my wife used it. I think last week before that. She wanted to do some research with about a couple of municipalities. They both used the proxy. She wanted just to check a built-up area. Again, it's layers that you can see in their JS. Just get parcels, get buildings, just check very raw built-up area. But she had to use the plugin to get the data into QGIS.
Okay. So obviously this irritated you, and that's why you wanted to add it to QGIS.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. I'm sorry.
Okay, now I can.
There we go. Yeah. So this is you wanted to get this into QGIS because obviously you use it a lot. But this is something that I think could be actually like the part of base functionality of QGIS because it makes your life so much easier. Why do you think it isn't, or do you just think people haven't done it?
I think it just wasn't done. I mean, I specifically, I'm a JS developer, but I haven't really been taught that. My degree is in geography. So I know mostly Python and JavaScript, and I don't know the C++ needed to add this functionality into base QGIS.
Okay.
But I think eventually this should and maybe would be added to the base software.
I really like the no coding environment as well because I mean I am a QGIS user, and I'm not big on coding. It's just not my forte. But having this kind of functionality for being a user how I am to get that data from this, I know it exists. I've inspected my page. I know where it's coming from, but I have no idea how to bring it into QGIS. So this is really fantastic. It's gonna really help me just in my workflow. So I have a question that might not be exactly about the plugin, but you mentioned sort of making this plugin in an evening, and I wanted to know, did you use Qt Designer? What's your go-to workflow for creating plugins on the fly like that? Sorry.
You get disconnected again, I think.
I'm sorry.
Maybe it's your mic that causing an issue, or mine.
Oh, I don't know. Am I back? Are you back?
Just a second. I'll reconnect my headphone again.
Sure. There we go. There we go. Anything?
Just a second.
Yeah, okay.
Great. So, what is your general workflow for actually creating a plugin like that? Because I'm sure a lot of people have this sort of very simple workflow that they want to share with, the QGIS world. Do you use Qt Designer? What is your go-to?
Yeah. I use Qt Designer. Let's just open it up because it's really simple. I mean, it's just UI, nothing. So let me show my screen again. Yeah, that's Qt Designer. Whoever doesn't know, it just comes with QGIS. It's installed with, and apart from the regular Qt Designer widgets, which there are a lot, you also get the specific QGIS widgets. Things like get the file, get the layer, the expression builder, the symbol button, things like that. Basically, drag and drop. That's it. You can make your own layouts and put things inside. For example, the form here is built inside the layout, and there's just a label and a couple of line edit fields. And once you've created that, and that's what you want, again, just an important thing to say here: don't just open Qt Designer and start designing. First, use the plugin builder plugin to get the file folder structure for your plugin, and then just open the UI file it creates. It's important because there are different types of plugins. Not everything has to be like a pop-up window. You can make it a panel, you can make it a toolbar. So you have to design your 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 UI to fit whatever you want to do. Once you add and build whatever you want to do, you check whatever types of input you have inside, and you can do this, the next part of the actual code writing, two ways. The idea is you go into, again, the basic file structure. I can just open the plugin folder and see it. So once you've created a plugin, you get back the whatever you named the plugin.py, which is the main, and here you actually write the code. The basic idea is you take whatever you need to do at the beginning and add that to init. If you add translation, it's great. Init GUI, just like it sounds, that actually opens up the whatever your UI is. And you start writing functions. And whenever you finish writing a function and it should do something that is handled by a button or something like that, then you go to the end. And whenever a function is run, I put that inside a specific function to run, but most people just leave all of these rows inside the run function. And you take whatever, for example, the add handler button, which we can see here. This is which you can find it by its actual name. You set the names of objects inside Qt Designer, and it's self dialog because it's all one class, so it's self dialog. This is DLG, the actual the actual button, and you'd have to see whatever events are connected to each input type. So it's a button, so whenever you click it. But for example, handlers table, waits for you to change selection. Obviously, if I have a line edit which I want to do something while someone is writing, then I'll connect another function and connect, and then you just add the actual function. Do that. Use the plugin builder plugin, which actually does also come when you install it via pip, not through QGIS. You have to actually also install plugin builder tool. I don't remember. Whenever you look, you can find it. You get the PBT CLI, again, command line tools. So I'll start writing PBT and it should open up the help. And you can, get the explanation and how to use it. It's basically just an easier way of just every time copying everything from the from the folder to whatever user folder you're using inside QGIS to test things. You just click on PBT deploy or something like that, and just get back the. Might have changed. I don't know. I remember PBT deploy, but maybe it changed. And that's it. It's really pretty simple. The hard part is handled by the two plugins, which are plugin builder tool and the plugin reloader, which reloads the plugin whenever you need it. And that's it. Again, if you have an idea to write a plugin, it can look a bit complicated, but it's really not.
I suppose for someone like me who, again, not technical, not really a coder, but I use a lot of like the QGIS modeler, which I know you can then create sort of a Python code from. You may need to update it a bit, but I could basically take my model that I'm working with and translate it into a plugin relatively easy using this.
Yeah, theoretically. This stuff is a script. It's just a simple script, URL, proxy, add that, and add the handler. That's why I needed QGIS version 3.22 and above, because there's a function about handling requests, which didn't exist earlier. But yeah, a lot of this, if you just want to run a model and give it a simple UI, then you can do that. It does send you a lot to reading the reference, at least for me, for both the actual Qt objects and QGIS and the QGIS and PyQGIS classes. You go there, you find it. I'm again pretty lazy, so while I usually really want to just take just from QGIS, PyQt, Qt Core, import all. That's not really the right way to do that. So if you want to find whatever specific class like QGIS settings or Q icon or something like that, an easy way to do that, you go into QGIS, open the Python console, and just start typing. And you'd usually get the full path of whatever you're looking for. After that, it's just a lot of combining whatever you need and things like that. But again, most of the hard lifting is done by the plugins that we already have.
Brilliant.
Yeah, most of my code here is actually just handling, saving and reloading your handlers and things that are related to the UI. This is the actual code that does whatever you need. It's like 4 lines. That's it. Just the handler proxy plus URL, request set URL. That's it.
Brilliant. What do they call it? Short and sweet.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, brilliant stuff. That's great. I don't have any more questions, and I see we don't have any questions in the live chat. So I think you did a fantastic job of explaining. And I'm really keen to actually give this a try because I find it very frustrating when I know I can get the data, I can see the URL there, but I can't get it into QGIS. So I'm really keen to try this out. Thank you so much for such a great presentation again. We always enjoy having you on QGIS Open Day.
Thanks. Yeah, I think I really don't have anything to add. I'll probably get around to doing some fixes and things like that in the plugin in the next couple of weeks, but it's working, so it's not really it's not really it's not really vital, but yeah. And I hope whoever sees this can see that they can just develop their own Python plugin with a lot of pre-built tools, because again, I think I would be very, very lazy and probably not do that at all. But I think this is like my 5th plugin. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think this is my 5th plugin.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, and they're really, first of all, they're fun to make because you can just kind of like JavaScript, you can just see things happening pretty fast. But you change something, reload, it's working, you get an error message, things like that. And the guides, both for the plugin builder tool and there's something about this in the QGIS tutorial, I think, the PyQGIS tutorial.
I think this is so important as well because, people, especially when they're starting off with open source GIS and QGIS in general, they're not sure, they think it's this big, like, undertaking to contribute to things or make a plugin. And it's not. I mean, if you know what you're doing and you know a couple of great shortcuts, then contributing is much easier than you think. And if I can guarantee that if you are trying to do something, you're trying to automate something, you're making a plugin to make your life easier, there are however many million people using QGIS, at least 100,000 of those are going to find your workflow useful to them. So, I think it's a great thing you've shown us, and that you're able to, make those plugins. I really encourage people who are watching and encourage the QGIS community, take off the mantle and contribute like this. I mean, you're not going to break anything. Everything is, of course, reviewed, etc. So, yeah, have at it.
Yeah, make your own plugins. I mean, I won't say it's really, really easy, but it's very, very doable goal for really anyone.
Awesome stuff. All right, brilliant. Thanks so much, Dror, for joining us. I'm going to bring the session to a close. The next session is, of course, in an hour. So I'll be seeing you all there for the session. And thank you to everyone online who joined us. I will see you in the next session. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
All righty.
Okay.